Okay, we're here for We the People in the new studios with the new equipment here at Hartford Public Access. It's just me for the time being. I was supposed to have a guest today. I'm not sure where Hyacinth is, but our guest is probably going to be Hartford's next mayor, Luke Bronin. He's outside. He just texted me. He's outside at the door right now. So Luke Bronin should be here in a moment. Until then, I'll just kill a little bit of time. We're back. It's been a few months since you've seen me here. I came back last week. Looking forward to get going again under a new administration with a new hope for Hartford, a new city council. Have a lot of hope that things are going to change if we elect the right people tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be voting for judge of probate, mayor, city council, constables, and the city treasurer. Those are the key positions. It's all municipal elections tomorrow. So,
sorry.
And here comes Armando.
Are you alive?
Yeah, still alive. Yeah. Oh, are we live? Yeah. So let me turn off the phone here. Yeah. My guest is outside at the door, I guess. So we're just killing a little bit of time till he gets in here. So, so tomorrow are the municipal elections, and everybody runs out for the presidential elections. But when you come right down to it, the municipal elections affect your lives day in and day out much more than the presidential or any national elections do. These are the people that determine the policy for our police department, city hall, deal with issues with the Board of Education, even though that's not their entire responsibility. But the municipal elections tend to affect us a lot more than the national elections. Not that the national elections aren't important, but everybody wants to go out and stand in line for the presidential elections. But the municipal elections are much more important. Okay, I'm going to stop blabbing now. Luke Bronin is here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, Kevin?
So Trish, I killed the first 5 minutes.
Sorry to be late.
No problem. I would imagine you've got a pretty hectic schedule these days. It'll all come to an end tomorrow.
Well, then the real work starts.
Well, that's what I was just talking about. The hope and the optimism for the future of this city, I think among most people that have been paying attention, is huge right now. We've got most likely a brand new city council, maybe a couple of working families people still around, but brand new council, brand new administration in the mayor's office. And that's got to be very positive for people that have been really complaining about what's been going on the last several years, have seen the lack of accountability, the lack of attention to what goes on in the city. So let's just talk a little bit about your plans for the city and what you're going to do after 8 o'clock tomorrow when it's official.
After 8 o'clock tomorrow, I think we may celebrate a little bit and then rest a little bit, but not for very long. We got a lot of work to do. We will have a 2-month period from tomorrow through the beginning of January to transition.
So that's when you actually get sworn in the beginning of
Correct.
January.
Get sworn in on
officially begins.
That's right. So between now and then, I'll be working on putting the team together. I will have a transition process that I'll talk more about in the week or so that follows the election. Knock on wood. And I will, at the same time, be sitting down with folks who are inside City Hall right now and making sure that we begin to get our arms around the challenges that we face. It's pretty clear from things like the Dillon Stadium debacle that there have been a lack of controls and process that they can be a little dangerous. And one of the most important things right out of the gate is to get under the hood, to figure out what's really working and what's not, and figure out just how bad it is. You know, the truth is we're going to have some rebuilding to do. It's going to take some time.
Now, the lack of accountability in the disasters that have happened, even like today, the Hartford Current, I forget what the term was they used to refer to the Hartford Fire Department. It was a very negative term. Do you think this has been because of lack of accountability, or people not knowing what their jobs are? Or is it just nobody's running the ship saying this is what has to be done and this is what we expect from you?
You know, I'm not in City Hall at present, so it's hard for me to say exactly what it is, but I think clearly in a strong mayor form of government, you need the mayor to set the tone from the top that we're going to take responsibility. We're going to expect to be held accountable, and in turn, hold ourselves and our team accountable. And you can't cut corners. You can't accept a lack of customer service, and you can't accept a lack of thoroughness in doing the people's business. So to me, it's important that we get the right team in place. And like I said, that will be my first priority between now and January. And it's important that, to me, that as mayor, I am not just a ceremonial mayor, going to ribbon cuttings and things like that, but at the table, really digging into the details, really trying to dig into the details of where we are from a financial position.
But you also have to be willing
sure
to
departments
deal with,
are running effectively.
you have to be willing to deal as the mayor with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's right.
You can't just be out there cutting ribbons and at ice skating rinks doing the good things that make you feel good. You've got to realize it's a city with problems. We've come from mismanagement for so many years. The next mayor, you probably in 4 years may not be the most liked person in Hartford. But at least people will look back and say he did what he needed to do.
Look, that's my goal. My goal is to tackle the hard problems, and there's no question that hard problems actually are hard problems. There are no easy answers, and as a city, we face a lot of hard problems. So we're going to have to make some tough choices. I suspect there are going to be, folks who are unhappy from time to time, and probably nobody's going to be happy about any. Not everybody's going to be happy about any particular decision. But that's what leadership is. You do your best to identify the problem, and so long as you have the goal in mind and your priorities straight. To me, the priorities are making sure that we are a strong, healthy city. Meaning, we're a city that's doing everything we possibly can to keep our residents and our streets safe. That we're a city that's doing everything we possibly can to deliver quality education to our kids, including neighborhood schools, and that we're doing everything we possibly can to grow jobs and to begin growing again as a city. If we stay focused on those priorities and if we're willing to make hard decisions, then I think we'll move the ball forward.
Well, I think one of the most dangerous things a leader can do is plan his future based on where he wants to be on the ladder 4 years from now. And I think that's what we've always seen. Nobody that's run for mayor has risen higher than mayor in probably the last 30, 40, 50 years. Probably longer than that.
That's right.
So you're a young person. I'm sure you've got aspirations down the road, but hopefully that's not going to cloud your judgment as we go forward with the business of the city.
No, I mean, on the contrary, I am young, 36 years old. I've got plenty of time. What I'm focused on right now is my only aspiration right now is to make our city stronger. And if it means that I'm a one-term mayor because we've made so many hard choices, I'm comfortable with that. I don't want to be a one-term mayor.
That's the nature
but
of
you
the
can't.
beast.
You have to be willing to be a one-term mayor in order to lead effectively. But again, that's not my goal. If you look at cities that have really revitalized themselves and really reinvented themselves, it takes some time. It takes not just 4 years.
We didn't get there
8 or
overnight.
12
We're not
years.
going to come out of it
That's right.
overnight.
And so my sole focus right now, and for as long as I can see, is just trying to get our city back to a place where we're being honest about the challenges we face. We're not shying away from them. We're not just covering up, a tough budget situation with asset sales or fire sales and
We don't have
raiding
much
funds.
left to sell.
But it's really important. Where we have real problems, we're gonna have to face up to them. And one of the things that I promised to do, and I promised throughout this campaign, and I reiterate that promise now, I will always communicate about what we're dealing with, and I will get out and I'm going to do town halls. I'm going to do town halls once a month in different neighborhoods, different times of day, but once a month. To talk about the issues that we're facing. And I think it's really important that the mayor get out and do that and communicate face to face and give residents a chance to provide feedback. And as I've said before, that feedback won't always be pleasant, but it's important to hear.
I'll make the standing offer right now. You're always welcome to come back on We the People after you get elected to, take phone calls, discuss to people what's going on in the city. But what we just talked about probably isn't much different than what your former boss is going through right now. Governor Malloy, who inherited a mess, his poll numbers are down, but he's the type of person, he does what has to be done. And there's a couple bloggers besides me that are willing to take shots at anything that has the Malloy name attached to it. You being one of them. Now, one of the big things that's been emailed all over the city recently is a blog posting about the money you've raised. Now, I don't know how it takes $1 million to get elected as mayor, but I think any politician that had the capacity to raise that money would. If it ensured that they had a smooth campaign, they ran a good operation. I don't think we can decide by how much you raise who's going to get elected. But it's part of the politics or the business of politics nowadays. And it's easy for people that only have raised a couple $1,000s to then criticize you. But I think one of the big things, I'm trying to figure a polite way to get around this. One of the big criticisms is money that came in from developers and people that are doing business with the city. But I think we have to have some trust in our politicians. You can separate the two. You can say, when it comes time for a decision, I'm going to look at the facts and say, this makes sense, or no, it doesn't make sense. You don't look at it and say, they gave me a check for $1,000, so they own my soul.
That's right. I mean, first of all, let me say, the heart of my campaign was going door to door. And, that's what I spent most of my time doing over the summer and leading up to the primary, and talked with thousands of voters, many thousands, knocked on about 5,000 doors, and reached out to residents and voters in events in community centers and senior centers over and over again to make sure that folks had the chance to make up their own mind, right? To form their own judgment about me, to ask the tough questions that they want to ask me. And to me, that was the heart of my campaign. But obviously, I'm running against an incumbent, and I had not been involved in politics before, and so I wanted to make sure I believe deeply in what I'm doing. I believe that the city needed a change, and so it was important to me to run as strong campaign as I could run. And now it's worth noting in the primary, Mayor Segarra raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, and to be honest, I probably would have expected him to have run a stronger campaign, maybe to have raised more. And so I was planning and expecting to be in a serious campaign, and it was a very intense campaign. But to your last point, I think one of the reasons that there have been a lot of support, a lot of it from within Hartford, a lot of it from Hartford region, is that there are a lot of people who love the city and they believe in the city. And even if they do business or they do business in or around the city, to them it's important that city just function, that it work well. It's not about trying to get some special favor, as much as there are an awful lot of people who just want the city to work. And it's frustrating to so many people who love the city of Hartford to see things like that Dillon Stadium, where you have $1.8 million just vanishing into thin air because of
that's part of the problem that I'm sure you're well familiar with coming from the Capitol. Every time as a city we're broke, we run to the Capitol claiming poverty. We need money for this. We need money for school buses or for transportation. Several years ago, we went to the legislature and said, we need money for transportation for schools. So they scraped and they came up with, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, only to find out the next week we turned around and gave it all away in bonuses at the board. So that's part of the rebuilding process. It's not just what happens in Hartford. It's not just the city council. We've got to regain the respect at the Capitol and from our neighbors. I wasn't around during the primary. I was still staying at my mother's house after my stroke. But your TV ads were extremely effective. Her neighbors would come over and say, we saw Luke Bronin on TV this morning. I wish I lived in Hartford, I'd vote for him. That's the type of thing we need, where people, even our neighbors, because as Hartford goes, so goes the region. If we go down the tubes, real estate values in Simsbury, Avon, Farmington are all going to go down the tubes also. So we've got to regain that goodwill. I think the last time we really saw it was with Mayor Mike, where people would say, we saw Mayor Mike in Cromwell last night. He came into a restaurant we were in, and we talked to him. He's a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. We need that where we regain the respect of our neighbors.
Well, I agree with that. First and foremost, I think we need to regain the trust of our own residents and our citizens, a lot of whom are frustrated, and it's their tax dollars, when they're wasted. But you make a really important point, and it's something that I've said a lot. If we're going to continue to be dependent on the state for help, we don't have the property tax base to provide all the services that we as a city need to provide. And if we're going to be able to go up to the state capitol and work with our legislative delegation to make the case that we need help from those neighbors, we have to be good stewards of the resources that we have. And that's why it's so important that we really focus on accountability and management and leadership inside City Hall.
Well, that's part of the issue also is, it all comes down to the respect aspect of it. The governor and his wife consider themselves Hartford residents because this is where their home is now. But when we go to ask the governor for money, we can't do it to embarrass him into things. We've got to do it with the respect and say, this is what we're doing, this is why we need it, this makes sense, and we're going to be responsible if you cut a check to us. And we don't have a history of doing that. One of the things that came out of Dillon Stadium is the development director has turned in his resignation, which has always been one of my pet peeves. And we have a development director who is supposed to live and breathe his love for the city, but instead he goes home to Providence every weekend where he's left his wife and his kids to live down there. Now I know not everybody wants to uproot and move to where they come to, but I would think economic development director is one of the jobs where you need to be so immersed in the city. You need to be talking to people at the grocery store or going to church or going to a restaurant. And part of what we've done over the years is we've created a lot of good jobs with very good salaries. Many of them don't even compare to the private sector for what we pay. We need to get back to where these people realize what a great job they have when they're working for the city of Hartford, the benefits, the retirement, the healthcare. And we need to find the people that live and love this city every day. Constituent services. These are people that are supposed to be dealing with our residents and our taxpayers out there. The majority of them didn't even come from Hartford. They didn't recognize anybody until they started going to NRZ meetings. There's plenty of people in the city looking for jobs that would be good in those positions that can work with our residents and know a lot of the issues.
Look, I think for a lot of positions that's right, and I think there's no question we ought to want all of our employees, every employee, including our cops and our firefighters and our teachers and everybody else to live in the city of Hartford. I do think it's important to note though, you don't have to live in Hartford to love Hartford, and I do think to your point about being a region and being the center of a region. I think we should welcome the support and the love and the passion for Hartford from people even when they don't live in Hartford. I think that's how you really get the whole region, which is 1 million plus people, invest in the city of Hartford. But in terms of those key jobs, obviously I would prefer to have folks who are living in Hartford. What I don't like though is you've got a system right now where a residency requirement is really just honored in the breach. In other words, in many cases there's no enforcement. And generally I think rules that over a period of years aren't enforced again and again and again. It might tell you that it's worth taking a look and just seeing are there any tweaks that should be made to make sure that we're being consistent with what we said should be done and what's actually done. But obviously it's critically important that anybody who's in any of these roles is committed 100% to the city. And you talk about the development services role. First thing I'm going to be doing, again, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, is beginning the search for a development services director. That's a hugely important role. And it covers licensing and inspection, housing, planning, economic development. Those are really important functions, and having a strong economic development team in there is fundamental.
We shouldn't have a bureaucrat in there. Somebody that's just worked his whole life in government. Somebody that's worked in the private sector and knows how to grow a business or has managed a business. Those are the people, the people in economic development should be salespeople for the city, and they're not.
They should. Well, there are a lot of different roles that are performed in that department, and you're never going to find anybody who's expert in everything that's done in that department. That's the nature of leadership, right? A true leader, you build a team where everybody on your team is smarter than you and better than you in their particular area, and you try to get the best out of them. I mean, certainly, I am not. There are going to be plenty of people who I either hire or who already work for me who are going to know their areas better, and my job as mayor is going to be to bring out the best, to pull it all together, and that same thing is true for department heads. But I will say there's a lot of different backgrounds that could make you an effective development services director. You could be someone who really understands real estate deals. You could be somebody who really understands,
I'm not trying to put you in a box on something, but it's going to come down to the interview process, who you feel comfortable with, who you think is going to fit on your team.
Right. And the other thing I'd say about building my team, I probably won't be just announcing, piece by piece, individuals for particular positions. It's important to me to get a sense of the whole team before you lock yourself in. You need to make sure that you understand, what players you can have on the field before you put together your starting lineup. Yeah. And I think that's what I'll be doing over the next couple of months, again, if I'm lucky enough to be elected tomorrow.
Well, I think your approach, and I'm not trying to lecture you or tell you what to do, but I think your approach is going to have to be a little unconventional as to how you put that team together. Even as far as a couple of your opponents, I've been impressed with Ted Cannon Joel Cruz is, I don't know if it was his time to run for mayor, but he seems to have a very good working knowledge of the city. Bob Killian, we've already talked about that. I think he'd be a huge asset. But there's a lot of people have big questions right now. Well, who's he going to keep? Who's going to go? And technically, under the charter, anybody that, as a department head that's here now, is pretty much cut loose because they all, by charter, they all work at the will of the mayor. The only question would probably be the police chief because there's a state statute that kind of muddies that a little bit, where he can only be removed for just cause. But hopefully that's not going to be an issue.
Well, look, the way it works, you get a certain number of appointees. They're in the director positions, the deputy director positions, division heads, and certain staff in the mayor's office that's appointed by the mayor. And I think that's important because if you want to have a mayor who you can hold accountable, then you want them to actually be able to bring their team in and get the job done the way that they think it should be done. But going back for a second to where you started, I have a huge amount of respect for all of the candidates in this race. Anybody who puts their hat in the ring and takes the time and the effort and makes the sacrifice on the family front to do this, I have an enormous amount of respect for them. And everybody who's in this race, I think, has thought a lot about the city of Hartford, loves the city, and I think everybody has a tremendous amount to offer. So I hope everybody who's involved in the campaigns at every level, not just in the mayor's race, but city council across the board, if they're not elected, I hope that they remain involved, and I imagine and trust that they will, because I know they're all in it for the right reasons.
Well, I think we've got a huge opportunity that begins at 8 o'clock tomorrow. We've got so much that's going on in the city, and I tell people all the time, and maybe I'm delusional, but this is such a beautiful, wonderful city. If you stand in Bushnell Park, which is basically your front yard, and you look out at the skyline or look to the right and see the Capitol, look straight ahead and see the carousel, it's like the foundation is there.
It is.
There's no reason this city shouldn't be soaring. There's no reason we shouldn't be West Hartford Center, except taxes are the huge issue. But the potential is there, the foundation is there. We've just got to get the leadership to move it forward.
And we need to remember that we've got to focus on the whole city.
I agree.
We need to make sure that we're doing not just focused on big shiny projects, but just doing the blocking and tackling that makes the city work well for its residents. Addressing the quality of life issues that matter in neighborhoods all around.
Well, it's even, we hear all the time about crime and homicides and everything else. We need to hire more cops. We need to hire more cops. That's a short-term fix. The long-term fix for Hartford are jobs. That's right. Jobs will bring our crime rate down.
There's no better public safety plan than a good jobs plan. And by the way, I encourage everybody who's watching or listening to check out both the public safety plan and the jobs plan that I've put out. You can find them both at lukebronin.com. One is lukebronin.com/public safety, and the other one is lukebronin.com/jobs. And please check them out, because I'd love to have your feedback and your thoughts.
Well, you put together kind of an interesting council slate also. There's really no incumbents on there. There's one who served years ago, then was voted out of office, and now is trying for a resurgence. But you've got one of them was one of your opponents in the mayoral race. You've got several very interesting people. Julio Concepcion, Thomas Clark, Jimmy Sanchez. And I know Jimmy has gone around to a lot of events in the South End with you.
Glenville Hall of Fames, John Gale, you mentioned, Arjo Winch. I think we've got a great slate. I think it's a slate that brings a diversity of experiences, of perspectives, a lot of energy, and a recognition that this is a make or break time for the city. And I think we're all on the same page about trying to tackle the tough problems head on. And I think everybody understands that we've got a lot of hard work to do, and it's not going to be an easy few years or an easy term. But I think it's a group that really does have the energy and the commitment and the willingness to get to work quickly to try to do what we can.
Now, how much, and I don't even know if you would know this, but how much of a learning curve is there for the people on the council? Just procedurally, how to,
remember,
John Bazzano
Yeah, well,
works through,
we'll be taking over the next couple of months. We'll probably be sitting down all together and making sure that we're getting briefed up by the folks who are still at City Hall, by those who've been working on these issues for a while. But remember, a couple of the members of the slate, Glendale Hall, TJ, they've been in City Hall before. They haven't been elected officials, but they've worked in City Hall, and so they have some sense of how it works. And our Joe, as you know, was on. John Gale, is an attorney who's been active in the political process and public hearings many times. And everyone who's on there, I think, has been paying an awful lot of attention for a long time. So I'm sure there will be a learning curve for all of us. But I also think there's a lot of value in having a fresh set of eyes.
But how much of the council's process, and I know we're getting out of the mayor's office now, but how much of that is mandated by, I don't know if it's statute or how they decide, but it just seems so much of what the council does is so cumbersome. Just to, let's say one of our major corporations decided today they wanted to donate 1,000 laptops to the police department. That's got to go through committee. It takes months and months before they finally get the approval to do it and accept them. That just seems, even the horses, for example. People have tried to make donations of veterinarian services, hay, things like that, and they're told no because it's got to go through council.
Yeah, so two things. One, I think, I'm not 100% sure, I think that's a question of council rules. And so the council could change those rules and adopt different procedures, different rules. But even things that seem common sense, it's worth noting, sometimes when you get a gift, there are a lot of costs associated with maintaining that gift over years. Now, laptop's probably not a great example, but there may be things that look like a gift in the short term, but actually have a lot of responsibilities that come with them. So it's important that there be some process around things like that. But I think to your basic question, there are a lot of how the council functions is up to the council, and I think they will be looking at their rules and looking at their procedures to make sure they're being as effective and efficient as possible. And I will obviously be doing the same thing inside the mayor's office, inside City Hall.
Okay, now you have a very supportive wife. She's served on commissions in the city, and from what everybody tells me, has done a great job, is very scholarly in her thinking on legal issues, zoning issues, things like that. Do you see that being able to continue?
Yeah, once you're elected? She is currently, as you know, she's currently the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. She was appointed to that commission a little more than a year and a half ago or so. Her term runs through 2017. It's a term appointment. And I expect that she will probably to see through that term. She is an incredibly, if you know her, she is an incredibly independent-minded and very dedicated and passionate about the issues of planning and zoning. And that's her professional expertise. She's a law professor who focuses on property and land use. And I can tell you, if anybody thinks that she's just going to do what I tell her to do in that arena, then they haven't spent any time with her. But what I really respect and admire about the way she's led the Planning and Zoning Commission is that she's gone out to all of the NRZs, multiple times. She's gone out to neighborhood groups. She is very engaged and I think has tried to run a commission in a very transparent and open way, which, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people saying that they welcome and appreciate that. So I don't see any problem with her continuing in that role. I think she's brought some creativity and discipline to that commission. And like I said, I have a lot of respect for her, even if she weren't my wife.
Okay, well that's good to hear, but you're going to have some tough decisions to make as we move forward. A lot of them have already been well publicized. I'm not trying to get you to commit to something, but the fire department has been, even by current articles and blog postings and things like that, has been basically dysfunctional. How do you change things like that? Do you think you need to look outside for any department, whether it's economic development, fire department? Is it best for us at this point to start looking outside, or does that kind of ruin the incentive for people to excel at their positions, knowing they're never going to move up because they're going outside?
I think one of the things that I think we've failed to do well in our departments, and the fire department may be one of them, is really groom and cultivate and mentor potential future leadership. And I think that's something we've got to do better in all the departments. So as with respect to any particular department, I may look outside, I may go inside, I may go do a national search, I may do a local search. But no matter who's in there, when I get in there, it's going to be important to me that they really put a priority on cultivating talent and cultivating leadership inside that organization. What we should really try to do is get to a place where we never have to look outside because we're growing that talent inside. We're preparing people. We're putting people in positions that they can get the leadership experience that they need and succeed. But I'll be in some departments. I'm not sure that we've done that job, and so we may have to look outside. We may have to get somebody in for a period of time from the outside as we try to rebuild that leadership
it's also,
culture inside that department.
And I think we've had this conversation before. The city needs to start running more like a business. Most of your major corporations have their eye on who's being groomed, and they send them to the right conventions and the training and everything because they know where they're going to move. When there's an opening, that person is coming up through the ranks. We don't do that. We don't do it politically. We don't do it at City Hall. And use the word mentoring. We need to start that a lot more. First of all, it'll keep some of our younger people here. We need, even in the political process, we need to be ready 4 years from now saying, geez, these people are getting tired. Who are our new leaders coming in? And we haven't done a very good job of doing that. And that's one of the big things we need to start looking at is really mentoring the future of the city.
Right.
And not think that all of our saviors are going to come from Providence or Chicago or wherever else. They should be coming right here from our city.
As I said, I think mentoring and cultivating leaders inside the departments is really, really important. And so that's something that it's going to be an expectation I set for all of my department heads, no matter what department we're talking about.
And one of the things, and this will be coming up on a blog posting, but one of the things I think we need to really start looking at in the city, when I was in the corporate world, we never terminated anyone without all the facts and reports going to legal. And they would look and say, okay, yeah, you got it. You can go ahead. We're not going to lose at unemployment. Or build a progressive discipline. You've got to wait, document more, and then there'll be enough to terminate them. We tend to spend an awful lot of money in the city of Hartford on settlements, both at the labor board, bringing people back and paying back all the salary. We should really get to the point where there's a labor lawyer in Corp Council that reviews any discipline. We had, just as an example, a few months ago we had two firefighters, a lieutenant and a captain, that fought, or they didn't fight. The lieutenant struck the captain at a fire scene. The lieutenant was subsequently arrested for breach of peace. He didn't cause enough injury to make it an assault. But now the discipline came down today. They suspended the lieutenant who threw the punch. They suspended him for 2 weeks. The lieutenant, or the captain that he punched, got an 89-day suspension. He's the one that wrote it up. He's the one that documented everything. He wasn't the aggressor. This is just crazy. Now we're going to pay big time, I would imagine, in the end when that goes to court or wherever.
Look, I don't want to come out on that because I haven't read the report, and maybe at some point I probably will, and maybe not too long from now, but I haven't now, so I can't comment on that specifically. But look, it's really important when we talk about creating a culture of accountability. It's important to document performance.
But it has to be fair
and it has to be both positive and negative. You have to make sure that you are recognizing achievement, that you're recognizing good service, at the same time that you're writing up and documenting where the service falls short. A big part of creating an effective organization is getting the best out of everybody. And there are a lot of people in City Hall, I think, who really care about their jobs. They care about serving the people of Hartford. And we need to make sure they feel motivated. And one of the things that can really sap that motivation is if they're sitting next to somebody who isn't caring and isn't doing the job and facing no consequences for it. So, I think we need to really make sure that we are doing both sides of leadership, which to me means promoting, supporting, helping, recognizing good service and quality work, and at the same time, calling people out when they're falling short. Not just calling them out, but then calling them out and saying, "Hey, how can we help you get better?" And if they have no interest in getting better, then ultimately they should be held accountable.
Well, that's part of it. Even with a police officer or a firefighter, by the time we get to the point of discipline, even an accountant in City Hall, we've invested an awful lot of money in their training and their time, and we can't just say, okay, let's write them off, terminate them, which we're probably going to lose anyways when we go to the labor board. But I mean, there's a huge investment in our city employees, and we need to recognize that. And even, the fire department and police department both have employee assistance programs, EAP. I don't think they're as strong as they should be, because we're losing officers and firefighters all the time for alcohol and drug issues. You can't tell me nobody recognizes that and shouldn't say, let's intervene here, and not everybody wants to accept the help, but let's make the offer and try to get it started. And I think that's one of the things we really need to do, as a city, is start holding on to our employees and change a lot of the turnover. A lot of this you've already talked about, but what would you say if you had to look at Hartford from the outside? What's our biggest strength and what's our biggest weakness?
I think we have a lot of strengths. One of our biggest strengths is our diversity. It's our cultural diversity.
I knew you were saying.
I know, but I believe it.
Our people, I know.
It really, we're a city with hundreds of different cultures and nationalities represented, and that makes us. You can't get that anywhere else. You can't get that anywhere else. You certainly can't get that anywhere else in Central Connecticut, and it's one of the things that makes us different and great. It makes us such an interesting, fun place to be. It makes us be the kind of place that I want my kids to grow up. So I really think that is
culture,
things.
Like
exactly. I was going to say, it's not just culture for culture's sake. It's also, it should be an economic driver. Just the way that a lot of cities have a Little Italy or Chinatown or something else. We need to promote the cultural diversity we have. We need to make sure that everybody knows about the great restaurants you can find of every variety here in Hartford. And I think that's something we really got to embrace and push. Same with our festivals. We've got some great cultural festivals, and it saddens me sometimes because some of those festivals. I'll give you an example. You go to the West Indian Day Parade and the celebration that follows. Almost everybody who's there is West Indian. Same goes for the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I want those to be events that the whole city comes together to celebrate, because those are critical, vital cultures that are a strong part of our city. We should all be celebrating that. And that's something I'd like to try to promote. But other strengths, look, we have arts and culture institutions here in Hartford that no other city around here does. And remember, I said before, we're a small city, 125,000 people, but we sit at the center of a region that's more than 1 million people. And that's what we have that nobody else does. Nobody else has, the Athenaeum, the Bushnell, the Charter Oak Cultural Center, the Kabbalah House, the Artist Collective, all of those things that we do. Infinity Hall, the Excel Center, all of those things for culture and arts and entertainment that really are unique to Hartford in this region.
But it's very surprising to me that how many Hartford residents have never been in the Capitol, have never been inside the LOB, have never been in Hartford City Hall. These are the things that, we should be bringing all of our school children to the Capitol to see a legislative session.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how you get them involved, show them what goes on there. We need to really start marketing ourselves a lot more than what we've done. The riverfront, things like that.
That's right. And then, let me say another strength, because you can list strengths for a long time. I think we have an awful lot of strengths. The physical beauty of the city is a strength. Our parks are magnificent. They're not maintained as well as they should be, but they're magnificent. Keeney Park, 700 acres, an urban park. Hardly any other city has an asset like that.
Well, and the golf courses are coming back.
The same is true of, we have this beautiful patchwork of parks throughout our city. Almost anywhere you are in the city, it's a very short walk to a beautiful green space. And that's something that we should care for more and promote more. One of the things I've talked a lot about is wanting to create a youth service corps where we're putting young people to work in our city, directly to work. And one of the things I'd love to have them help do is make sure that we're caring for our parks the way we need to.
Well, that's, our 2 public golf courses are in the middle of a transition right now, and they're coming back. But when I first moved back to Hartford, I got involved with Mayor Mike's Companies for Kids. And we used to run the Mayor's Trophy Golf Tournament every year. Maybe we can revive that under Mayor Bronin, start having his Mayor's Golf Tournament again. But it amazed me how many people would say, "Oh, we're not going up into Keeney Park to golf. It's dangerous."
Right.
And then you get up there, and
it's beautiful.
It's probably
it's
rated with some of the top golf courses you ever want to see.
I used to go up there all the time. 2006 to 2009, I was up there all the time, and it was. It
was before they cut down all the trees.
Right before they cut down the trees, but it is an incredibly beautiful resource.
But even Bushnell Park is the same thing. I remember the first year I moved back to Hartford, they had the Mark Twain days,
Yeah.
right in the park, and they had like, you know, all kinds of wagon shows and everything else right there, and it was packed. We used to have the XL Center open up for public skating on weekends, and now we have the park and the Rake and Bushel Park, so people come in for that. But there's so many things we could be doing here that would give us an advantage, and what we've really got to do is become cheerleaders for this city.
Yep.
And you know, when you call, say, you know, well, meet me down at Hot Tomatoes for dinner. Oh, we don't go down there at night. That's dangerous.
Well,
And it's that perception. The newspapers do, and the media do a huge part in that. But once people come in here and realize everything we have, you know, even the Jazz Fest.
you know, I almost everybody I meet these days, if they don't live in Hartford, I say, why not? You should be. You need a real estate agent. I'll hook you up with a real estate agent.
Yeah.
You should be taking a look. And you know, if you're not living here, then come on down for a restaurant once or twice. And don't just go to the restaurants downtown. As much as I like Hot Tomatoes, but explore some of the great restaurants we've got in the
Oh,
neighborhood.
there's plenty. You know, even go to Allegro. You're going to get the
Right.
best breakfast. I don't eat the grease anymore, but you get some of the best breakfast by branching out and learning the city
Yeah.
and going in different directions. That's I mentioned this earlier. I still, for the life of me, can't understand why Pratt Street in downtown is not as busy as West Hartford Center. What's the big attraction to West Hartford Center? Pratt Street's a beautiful street. All those restaurants should be bustling in there instead of having, for rent signs out front. So what we've really got to do is get somebody that can come in with some great salesmanship and start selling this city.
That's right, but let me say this. I plan to do that, but everybody needs to be part of that effort. We all, as residents of the city of Hartford, we are all ambassadors for the city of Hartford. We're all salespeople for the city of Hartford. And that's with your friends, with your network. I mean, how many Hartford residents and friends do you know who've got friends or family who live in Windsor or Bloomfield or West Hartford or Wethersfield or wherever else? They need to spread the word. We all need to spread the word that we want City of Hartford to be a vibrant place where we really promote all of the great stuff that's happening here. And so I ask everybody to join me in that effort. I will be doing it, and I would love, if resources permit, and we'll have to see, but if resources permit, I'd love to formally market the city. To be able to really advertise what it is that we have to offer. But I think there's no more powerful marketing campaign than everybody in the city of Hartford telling all their friends or family and everyone they meet, hey, come spend a little extra time down here.
Well, even like, little thing, and I don't know who you would get to invest in this, but even like a floating restaurant down at the riverfront. Let people come in and see how beautiful this. People always say, "Oh, that Connecticut River's polluted." It's
the river's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
My understanding is that there's some challenges with the current when it comes to a floating restaurant. So I don't know if the current of the river.
It'd be gone in the winter time,
right?
that's for sure.
But the riverfront is beautiful, and Mortensen Plaza is beautiful, and the programming that's done there is one of the great things that we have.
Well,
done
that's
all
part
summer.
of that's the vision of Joe Marfuji over
That's
the
right.
years, and
and
riverfront recapture.
He's done it. He did a tremendous job, and Mike Zaleski, I think he's picking up where he left off. I spent a morning not long ago walking on the southern part of the riverfront, and under I-91,
Okay.
where it really connects. It will, we hope, when we can start implementing the plans, you're really able to connect Coltsville to the riverfront. And create a real loop where you can start up downtown in Mortensen. You can walk all the way down and wander out at Coltsville.
Well, there's nothing that goes under 91 yet, right?
There is.
Is there a tunnel?
It's a bridge.
Okay.
Just like under I-84, other parts of downtown,
Okay.
it's a raised highway, and you can go under it. Now it's not really accessible, and it's certainly not marked as accessible, and it's not cleaned up and fixed up. But it's an opportunity to reconnect the riverfront.
One of the big questions I've been getting, aside from what department heads do, I think are staying and which are going, is what am I going to do with the block? They know that I've been supportive of you. Am I going to go after Luke Bronin the same way I went after Pedro and Eddie? And I was like, in all honesty, if something was done, yes. But I hope they don't give me the same ammunition.
I was just going to say, I would expect that you're not going to hold back. So
I'm much more optimistic.
I would imagine
about
that
your leadership.
imagine we said earlier that there are going to be decisions that I make that not everybody's going to agree with, and I suspect that'll be true for you too. And I expect that you make your opinion known. But
I'm pretty easy to get along with.
But I just coming back to where we were earlier, we've got a lot of hard work to do, and it's going to take some time. And anytime you've got hard problems, there are, by definition, no easy answers. And there's going to be a lot of challenges ahead that we need to work through as a city hall, as a city council, and as a city as a whole.
One of our biggest detriments to economic development, to people moving in here, to residency, has been the tax structure. Now, the legislature took care of part of that, which will kick in next year, where the mill rate on automobiles goes down to where it's statewide. I think it's 33 or 35 mills, which is a lot less than what we're paying now. Where do you see our tax structure going? And how is that going to, with the mill rate dropping on cars, is that going to, I understand there's formulas where we won't lose revenue over what we're making now off motor vehicle taxes. But how do we get business taxes? Real estate taxes aren't bad residentially because of the cap on there. But how do we get that back in line where we're a competitive city once again?
You know, one of the biggest challenges we've got is that our tax structure right now makes it so hard for small businesses to survive and succeed in our city. We have the split assessment ratio, so residential property owners are paying on 30% of their value, which makes it largely in line with a lot of the surrounding towns. What you pay on your residential property now, car taxes through the roof, right? But for our small businesses, they're paying 74 and change mills, and they're assessed all the way up at 70%. And it's very, very difficult for them to survive. And we talked earlier about jobs being the most important thing for our city. We've got to figure out a way over the medium term, the long term, to get that burden reduced for our residents, but also for our small businesses, which really are a vitally important part of employment in this city. And I'd also say this, on the car tax piece, there is a formula that's meant to keep us whole. We're going to have to not just hope, but work hard to make sure that commitment is actually followed through on. That we were supposed to be reimbursed for all of the non-taxable property that we have in the city,
pilot formula
and that pilot formula
is
is underfunded, by a huge amount. So we need to make sure that dropping the car tax is a really important thing for our residents, and we need to push hard to make sure that goes into effect as planned. We also need to make sure we get the revenue from the state to make us whole. Otherwise, our property owners, our residents, are going to be feeling the pain in another way.
Yeah, because the money's got to come from somewhere. A lot of our education funding comes right from the state, but still, we've got streets to plow, cops to hire, and we need that money coming in. It sounds like you got your hands full.
Look,
it's going to be a challenge.
When I decided to get into this race back in January, I decided to get in because I really thought that we're at a turning point. That this is a great city. There are great things happening in the city, but we've got really big problems and really big challenges. And so when I got into this race, it was with eyes wide open that we had a lot of hard work to do. But if all goes well tomorrow, I'm eager to get to that work. Eager to get out and talk with residents about the work that we're doing, and and I can promise only that nobody will work harder, and I will get out there and listen for the next 4 years.
Well, I want to thank you for being here. The last time we really had a chance to talk, because we bumped into each other out in the community and in different events, but the last time we really had a chance to talk was when you came to visit me in the hospital after my stroke, and I really appreciated that. I want to thank you for coming in that Sunday. But it's such a wonderful city, and I've thought about moving other places, but like you said, the diversity. I've met people here that I would never meet under any other circumstance, and I think that's what people need to do is don't come into Hartford with your eyes closed. Look at everything we have to offer and try to take advantage of that. Yeah, we've got our problems, but hopefully you'll be part of our solution too. Trisha's given us the wind-up sign here. We got 6 minutes left. 2 of that is our credits when they start running. So in the last 4 minutes, what do you want to say to people?
Well, look, let me just say one thing about that, because when you were in the hospital, you were not a supporter of mine at that time, right? You were.
I think you passed Bob Killian going out the hall.
But the reason I say that is, it doesn't matter where anybody is in a political campaign. It doesn't matter that we disagree on any particular issue. You know, we are a small city, and when we're at our best, it's when we all pull together, and that's what we have to do. And so, you know, looking beyond this election, again, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, this isn't about, you know, we have to forget political battles, we have to forget divisions, we have to make sure that we are pulling together as one city. And you know, that's been a message that I've been trying to give for a while.
I think to quote a Republican here, Paul Ryan,
Yeah.
he said, we're starting off with a clean slate. There's no vendettas, there's no animosity here. We're in Congress, they're starting with a clean slate. And that's what we need to understand in Hartford. I may not support everybody that's on your council slate. I may not vote for everybody that's on your council slate.
Although I hope you do.
I can't guarantee you that, but you'll never know. But anyways, what we need to understand is that after the last vote is counted tomorrow, they're here for the next 4 years. And we need to work with them and not put up roadblocks in front of them. And I'll admit, I've played a big role in that, you know, putting things out there that have caused problems, but exposing issues that are going on in City Hall. And I hope I can really slow down and not do that for the next 4 years. But we all need to work together and get this stuff out in the open, get things worked out, and act like adults and turn the city around.
And as a big part of that, I think, you know, respect one another's motives, which, you know, for most of the people who are involved in any way in the political life of the city, it's ultimately because they care about the city of Hartford. And so I hope to have the opportunity to be back on the show as mayor. I hope to have the opportunity to get to work with all of you who are watching, and again, I can promise you that nobody will work harder. So thank you very, very much, Kevin.
And in the meantime, just be thankful we're not Bridgeport. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I can't shake like I
you.
used to. That's my bad hand. But thank you for making the time to come in. I know
My pleasure.
you're probably off the rest of the day campaigning somewhere.
I will be campaigning. We've got about 36 hours till the polls.
But I think it's good for people to get a better understanding of you, and you know. But there's been plenty of forums. Anybody that hasn't heard you speak or heard your opponents speak,
You know, we've had about
Shame on you.
I think 19 debates, which is something that I think is a wonderful part of the process. You know, you should have an open discussion and dialogue all the way through a campaign, and that's one of the things that I'm really pleased about.
yeah. Well, it's the system we have. We've got to work with it, and I think tomorrow it'll work out quite well for the people of Hartford. I think our credits are running, right, Trish? Yeah, okay. Very much.
Thank you.
I'll see you around
All right.
tomorrow.
All right.
Okay?